Hey everyone, my name is God, and today I'll be going through the top 3 reasons why Deep Rock Galactic has been able to cultivate such a massively positive and encouraging community. To give a bit of background on myself, I have roughly 560 hours in the game after purchasing it in October of 2020. I've promoted my engineer to Legendary 3, and my other 3 dwarves are at least silver. So while I'm definitely not the most experienced at the game, I feel qualified to discuss this topic. If you're into Deep Rock Galactic or psychology in video games, then this video is for you. In order to describe how the Deep Rock community became so positive, I want to break down 3 different parts of Deep Rock and Ghost Ship Games. The 3 key areas are 1. A highly engaged and attentive game studio leading the development, 2. Building a game specifically around co-op play, and 3. Avoiding in-game competition as much as possible. Diving into the first point, you have to give massive kudos to the Ghost Ship Games development team. They've done an incredible job creating a game that has cultivated such a positive community. Part of how they've done this is by making a conscious effort to be hyper engaged with the community on numerous social media platforms. Between their subreddit, live streams, and Discord, never seems too difficult to get a suggestion across to the development team. Along with being engaged on social media, they're actively listening to the feedback as well. Although they don't always implement fan ideas, they listen to the suggestions and often respond. There's actually a page on the Deep Rock Wiki which lists many questions that have been asked relating to future additions or updates along with the dev's response. While not all of the answers go in depth on reasons why a decision was made, it is interesting to see all the interactions. While it's clear Ghost Ship Games is actively listening to the community, it may still be unclear as to how this leads to a more positive player base overall. To clarify this, we can take a look through the dev responses on the Wiki Q&A page. Ghost Ship Games communicates in a very candid way, as if they're speaking to a friend. This is very different to many other game studios. There's no corporate marketing speak or sly question avoidance or any scripted lines. Almost all of the dialogue comes across as very honest and candid, and sometimes even sassy. This transparent and honest method of communication inspires a much greater level of trust from the community. This allows the player base to have productive, open discussions about the game mechanics, since our suggestions are being heard by real people and are responded to in a human way. There's no need to scream about an unbalanced enemy or an overclock being underpowered, since your suggestions can very easily be brought up in a productive manner to the development team itself. Since this frustration is not coming out in a toxic way in-game, it leads to individual games being much more positive. While these complaints can be brought up to the dev team, major balance issues in the game are thankfully very few and far between. One of the main reasons for this is due to our second key point. DRG developers focused on creating a game specifically around cooperative play from day one. Starting development with cooperative play as a core tenet has played a massive role in the shape of DRG today. I'd argue that not a single major decision the devs make is done without considering how it will affect the co-op experience. This has led to a gameplay style where helping your teammates feels like second nature. For example, let's take a look at the synergies between classes. The most obvious one is between Engineer and Scout. The Engineer is able to shoot platforms under minerals or objectives that the Scout can then grapple to and collect with ease. Without this class combination, the Engineer would have to make a staircase of platforms to collect the minerals. This will take more time, ammo, and potentially fall damage. For the Scout to grab the minerals on their own, they may need to perform several grapples to put a hole in the wall, use the Hover Boots perk, or take the special powder overclock to give them more airtime. While the Scout can grab some of the nitro deposits on their own, other minerals that don't jut out like Dystrum or gold can be very tricky. Additionally, Ghost Ship Games has made the decision for utility tools to have very limited customization. This means you can always rely on the Engineer to have the ability to shoot platforms and the Scout to have the ability to grapple to them. So whether you're the Scout or the Engineer, working together will help save both time and ammo. Since there is such great synergy between the classes, the most effective and efficient teams are forced to work together and coordinate. The team who will finish missions the quickest and easiest are the ones with great communication and teamwork. Knowing your role in this game is not only about how to take out bugs or complete objectives efficiently, it's also about knowing how your class assists your other teammates. You know you're in a lobby with a good engineer when as soon as they walk in the room, they immediately begin shooting platforms at every mineral vein they see. Players are rewarded for being a team player and penalized for being selfish. Another example of game mechanics designed around co-op play is the ping system. While the ping gun itself is great as it is colored to your specific class, has a colored laser pointing directly to where you're looking that others can see, and it identifies what exactly was pinged, whether it's a mineral, enemy, mushroom, etc.
Mushroom! 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 Mushroom!
Oh, shut up about the bloody mushrooms already! Move it, team!
The feature that really sets this system apart for me is the voice lines. Once you ping something, your dwarf will say a voice line related to the item ping that other players can hear. This creates a painless way to communicate between teammates without the need for voice chat or typing out what you want. For example, if you're playing an engineer and you hear the scout yell, "Nitra!" that is your cue to look around for the ping and drop a platform underneath it. They also introduced a feature where you can ping specific dwarves as well. So if the engineer isn't paying attention to your mineral pings, you can always try and ping their character to get their attention. Then move your laser over to the mineral afterwards. DRG's ping system creates an incredibly effective and easy communication system that is super easy to learn and use. Now that we've established some of the ways that DRG encourages cooperative team play, how does this make the community more positive and less toxic? Consider how it can feel when you have a conversation with someone who speaks another language. Getting across the most basic ideas can feel like a huge task that quickly becomes frustrating. Now if we escalate that scenario to where you are working with that person on a simple project which involves communication, the hurdles to overcome are tremendous, and getting the small amount of work done requires a mountainous effort. It may be easier to complete the whole project yourself instead. This is how many games can feel without voice chat. In Call of Duty, it can be extremely difficult to ask your teammate to cover you, flank, or do any other basic task, especially if they are a new player. From my own experience, this can lead to throwing controllers, yelling at the TV, and just shutting the game down out of frustration. The Deeprock ping system does an incredible job at providing frictionless communication with simple tasks so that players can spend more time focusing on their own responsibilities. The final reason that the DRG community is so positive that I want to discuss is that there is almost no competition at all in the game. There's no leaderboard, no opposing team, and no in-game stats. The game does its best to prevent you from comparing yourself to others, which is usually uncommon in other multiplayer games. So how does this affect the DRG community then? In general, competition tends to draw out strong emotions. Whether it's excitement from getting a win or frustration from a loss, these emotions can have a huge effect on a player. Oftentimes when people like myself feel these emotions, they also want to express them. This can lead to big celebrations or a lot of trash talking and roasting of teammates. Since Deeprock lacks this competitiveness, there is much less trash talking than in other games. However, that doesn't mean there is no joy or frustration to be had in this game. I find it's just more on a level scale than competitive games are, for me at least. I have also noticed that since Deeprock is PvE, when my team is wiped, it often feels like I could have done something better. It doesn't feel like I'm playing against opponents using cheap tactics or overpowered weapons. I just failed to anticipate something, which is how I was downed. While sometimes you can get new or inexperienced players as teammates, a really great Greybeard will be able to carry their team no matter what. This leads to a more positive community overall, since there is more individual ownership to team losses rather than blaming it on external circumstances. So to sum this video up, I believe that Ghost Ship Games being a very engaged development studio, DRG being built specifically around cooperative play, and a lack of in-game competition are the three primary reasons why DRG has such an incredibly positive community. So I'd like to say a big thank you to Ghost Ship Games and all of you for keeping the game so positive and uplifting. I most likely would have dropped this game a long time ago if it had a negative community. If you have any ideas on why the DRG community is so positive that I missed, I'd love to hear them down in the comments below. Thanks for watching.